Okay.
And we might possibly maybe be live now. We're not exactly sure. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, with episode 135 and a half of Fans of Power, possibly. I'm Joe Amato. I'm here with Tyler Baker. We don't know if this is going on. So, what's up, Tyler? Until we see what's up.
I'm going to go with it wholeheartedly and not half-assed here. I'm doing great. And if this works, it works. If it doesn't, then we'll just, try and give the listeners more bang for their buck next week. But if you're not familiar, we've had technical difficulties getting this episode up and running due to some internet problems. But until we hear otherwise, we're just going to go forth with what we plan to do, unless we get a red flag from Doug that the ship is sinking.
No, actually, it looks like everything's working fine now.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, hello everyone that returned to us. Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it, because I know he said there was issues with Comcast and things. So hopefully it stays up. Yeah, because we see Zentron, Grimbot, and Zem Brown is here, and well, thanks for returning, guys. We'll see how we can flow with it. Well, first let me say, as for anything recent in the news, the only things that I've heard was Super 7 is now selling those Reaction 3 and 3/4 figures of Scare Glow and some of the other ones. I forgot everybody that was available. I think it was like
Mekaneck,
Evelyn. Yeah, Orko, Evelyn, Faker, and Ram Man.
Skeletor.
Yeah, and Ram Man. Well, I don't know about... No, I think Battle Armor Skeletor was in a different wave. This wave of 6 is what you said. There's Evelyn, Faker, Orko, Mekaneck, Ram Man, Scareglow. So they're available.
The picture that was shown, it had Battle Armor Skeletor and He-Man in the same picture that was popping up on Facebook earlier on Friday, I think. So.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. I don't plan on buying them just because I haven't bought any of them yet, and I just try to make sure that all my money goes towards classics whenever.
Well, yeah, no, but those are available. And also, there was a sneak little teaser pic on the Loyal Subjects page for people who collect Loyal Subjects of Masters of the Universe, and they've known of Battle Armor He-Man, Battle Armor Skeletor. Well, there was this little image in the background, a little small picture, and you could see Sorceress and Fisto was like on the box of an upcoming wave. So we at least finally know there's going to be some other new characters and not just constant repaints, recolors, and variants. So I'm sure maybe there'll be more. I'm sure it'll be announced at San Diego Comic-Con, but that was something that was hidden in the background of some transparent Freddy Krueger figures that somebody that worked on the line, I think, showed in one of the Loyal Subject pages. So at least
vintage style Filmation figures. There was a sneak peek of the Men on Card Skeletor. I guess they'll be giving a release date for the Filmation vintage style He-Man, Skeletor, Hordak, She-Ra.
Now, is Beastman and Man at Arms going to be part of that wave or another wave coming up? Because I thought they were talking about.
I have no idea on that one. No clue.
And I still don't think they showed anything for Hero and Eldor, which I think they said we're going to be given the Powers of Grayskull card. I mean, at least the one that we're supposed to get. I think. Don't quote me, everybody, because I screw things up a lot. But I think they might be trying to do that. The ones that they showed of Hero and Eldor with those prototype cards of like the Masters of the Universe burst, that was just a placeholder. I believe they said that was a placeholder.
Yeah. That's what I'm more. I mean, of course, when the vintage stuff becomes available, I would like to try and get all of those because I support the vintage stuff wholeheartedly. So I will get that. Of course, my heart is more set on getting Hero and Eldor and other characters. I'm not as excited to get Filmation style He-Man, Skeletor, and vintage when I'd rather be getting Icer and Strong Arm, in vintage form and Lizard Man.
Those would be great. Those would.
Yeah, that's when I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait. My nipples are just thinking about it. That's what I'm really excited to get. But I will like to get this. Plus, it looked like there's gonna be like a mini comic pack in that Axel did, because I saw in the faded or the kind of blacked out Skeletor, there was a mini comic behind the Skeletor figure.
Now, is it going to be an actual full mini comic or just that little fake cover?
I can't. It's probably going to be like what they did with the Ultimate Classics, where mock up and Val does the coloring of it and everything. So
okay,
that's what I'm assuming it is, and I'm hoping. I mean, it may be just what they've done before, like Axel's pictures, but I like to think that they got Axel to do new artwork if they're going to do vintage mock-up mini comics for those too. So, but I was just glad to see that, and I guess there's not a whole lot else.
I didn't think there was anything else new.
I was hoping we would get like a sneak peek of what like the San Diego exclusive of Super 7 or something coming up, like a teaser of, something new. Because when we got, and there's that bloody Horde logo that looks like, Mosquito's blood pumping or something like that. That's part of their teaser images. I'm like wondering
what. Yeah, that had me wondering. I couldn't really think. I was like, well, it can't be anything Mosquito related. I mean, like, we have the classic figure. It's like,
yeah,
what would that mean?
I was kind of like, I'm not quite sure what to make of that, and kind of hard to get excited about something. I'm like,
I just didn't get it. You're right. When you're sitting there and you have to think of it, like, it's like, okay, we have the classic figure. We have the original vintage. It's not like they're going to redo like, I pray, don't redo vintage Mosquito or in vintage form. So that one just has me a little stumped. I'm confused, but well, like you said, I guess we'll eventually find out at San Diego Comic-Con, and hopefully it is something that would be really bam, that's going to shock us and make us go, damn, that's cool. But I guess we're going to have to wait, what, a little over a month, right?
Yeah, we got a couple more weeks, because I haven't looked at the dates, but I'm assuming it's probably mid to late July, like always, where it just makes it just seem that much more longer, waiting for that inevitable Thursday or Friday to get all the info on, like, okay, the next batch is here, and oh, God willing, we're going to get Azrog and Spider, or we're going to get Widgets, or we're going to get Malacta.
How cool would that be? Especially vintage style, but hell, if they do a vintage or classics.
Yeah, and it's always just wishful thinking. Everybody's we talk about this so many times, but it's always exciting to get to look forward to that part of the year. And I'm really hoping that Super 7 has a lot to reveal, and of course the inevitable backlash of, you didn't release this guy, you guys can go to hell. All of you, that kind of nonsense.
Which happens, like we said, every year. There's always an anticipation and things and favorites everybody has, and obviously not everybody's going to get what they want, but there's no sense of rioting, screaming at people, calling people names. If it doesn't happen, you don't get your favorite. Well, hopefully it'll happen in the future.
As we're speaking right now, I'm quite certain I'm probably not going to get Azrog, Spider, or Malacta in classic form, and I'm not going to declare that I get $500 and a written apology from Brian Flynn, and also for him to be fired, because I didn't get Azrog and Spider. So if you don't get Joshua from She-Ra, or you don't get the background character from, or the slave girl from the King of the Snake Men mini comic, or whatever the case may be, pull back on the reins and just think, you know what? A lot of us, Joe hasn't got his damn meteor, so
that's a great example.
This is a reminder, because the season is coming up. We're all excited for what's going to be released. Just keep in mind, poor JoJo has not gotten a single damn meteor. So before you decide to show up with torches and pitchforks because Joshua and Slave Girl and I'm trying to think of another
Katrina or something. I know what you mean.
But whatever that fans that are just ready to flip over everything and start dropping napalm. Meteors have not been acknowledged once. We still don't have the He-Man movie figures, at least from that. I don't have my Azrog and Spider, so
and remember, I've always said, I mean, because if anybody should be a lunatic and mad and gone nuts, you'd think it's me. It's like, it's been all these years I've been saying meteor, but I see, looks like it probably won't happen, but I don't lose my cool. It's like, what the hell? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't. But I'm sure they got a lot of good things planned. So here's hoping for the best.
I doubt that we'll have another batch of 8 figures to get and sign up for, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Dial-A-Mug is going to look like with all the changes to him, to give him more details and stuff. So it'll be exciting, and I would love to know that they have some awesome new T-shirts with soft fabric, and give us like the chest emblems of characters, because I remember when He-Man.org was doing that before Mattel put the kibosh on that, where you had Cyclone's radar on the shirt, the Battle Armor logo, the Horde logo, the Battle Armor Skeletor bat, Mosquito's blood pumping logo. Like, give us the simple body or the armor symbols. I mean, just something simple. No goofy slogans and stuff like that. I would love to have box art. I would love to have like the Night Stalker box art on a T-shirt with the nice.
Oh God, how long have we been saying that? Could you imagine have the box art, the poster art, any of that stuff on a shirt? I mean, I would lose it.
No phrases. No, come at me, bro. No, got mad skills. No, I got the power. Or look, I have to shower, and all that other goofy nonsense that keeps popping up. And like, stop making fun of He-Man. So I'm hoping Super 7 if they do anything like that, give us some nice, or put Axel artwork of those put those on T-shirts. Put those on, preferably some nice gym tank tops. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, hint, hint, wink, wink. It would be great. And, well, like I said, we have a few, there's a question I'm going to have for you, too, which I know you probably pretty much will know an answer. It's going to be something Filmation-wise, and if you don't, I'm sure somebody in this damn chat room will do it. It'll be coming up. But first, I want to acknowledge our buddy. We have one of our friends on Facebook, Larry Ho. He's also a listener of the show. He said that he could get those like little Lego He-Man figures, and he was going to be able to get them real cheap. And he asked me if I wanted a set. I know he asked Tyler as well. And I know everyone's like, okay, Joe, are you going to do the don't send me nothing? But he promised me these were super cheap, and it's the only reason that I accepted. So, Larry, thank you very much. I'm going to show just a couple, but it's like these cool little Lego things of like, you got He-Man and Skeletor. I just couldn't believe the details that are put into these. And, they all have like these little pieces of armor that you snap on. But my God, when they're able to even do some cool details for the Sorceress and Evil Lyn, I was like, this is just cool shit. So, Larry, man, thanks a lot. I mean, you didn't have to do it, but you insisted, and I appreciate it. I kind of went against hey, I don't like taking stuff, but he promised me they didn't cost a lot. That's why I said, no, man, if this is costing you too much money, don't send me none. But he said they were cheap. So, and I know you got some too, but I was like, I got to show these little suckers. They're just cool as hell.
I'm just surprised Joe is just like, Larry, I'm breaking my religious beliefs. I will honor the anti-no gift Joe motto law that has been ordained since all the He-Man toys that I've ever wanted from people from all over the world. And now I'm too greedy, and I've decided to cut out any kind of free gifts and all that. Because really, Joe got the Eternity playset as a gift. So really, Joe has already broken that law, which means he needs to turn over that Eternity playset to me.
It's like, Joe, you really didn't want that. You got it for Christmas when you were a kid, but send it on over.
But yes, if I had the opportunity, I would gladly give Larry a hearty handshake and a big ass hug, because to get Clawful in this Lego form, which that was one of the big things for me. I'm like, because you kind of expect like the basic mix of characters, but to get Clawful and Faker, I mean, I was just like, oh my God, like Faker and Triclops.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always super pumped to see Triclops in the set. We have Zodak. We got Manny Faces with his gun. I mean, look at the attention to detail on this man. And he doesn't have all three faces. I know we were wondering about that, but damn it, man, it looks awesome like this. We got Ram Man, Trapjaw with one arm attachment. You can either have him with both hands, give him like kind of a Cronus thing, or give him a claw attachment there. We've got Zodak, which appears to look more like the
2000X or MYP.
More like a 2000X Zodak. Beastman, Merman, they all come with weapons. I had a hard time getting Clawful's mace in his hand, so I just kind of left him because I was afraid of breaking them. And these are Lego compatible. So now that Larry did this for us, Larry, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, but I'm very grateful for this incredible
It was
gesture.
a very kind gesture.
He verified that these are Lego compatible. So I'm going to have to go out and look for some sort of castle Lego set that's not an ungodly amount of money. It's going to cost $200 for a castle set. Something for me to display all these on some sort of castle fortress that they're all fighting over. I can't wait to do that because it gives me a reason to go out and buy a nice Lego set, which I have wanted to buy some of them, but I'm like, I don't have the real desire and push to spend so much money.
I just can't believe it. It amazes me the amount of detail they can put in such small little figures like this.
I think Man at Arms has like two different face sculpts you can flip around, one with the mustache and then one with like an angry look on his face, I think.
Yeah, which shocked me that, I'm not going to I can't say nothing shocked me because, hell, this is something that, well, obviously these aren't officially licensed, Lego figures.
No, they're not, But
for them to go through the effort of all that detailing is just unreal to me at such a super cheap price. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, everybody comes with attachments like their armor. Stratus comes with his wings and his mask. Rayman comes with his battle axe, and you can put the helmet on and the armor. It all snaps together. Beastman comes with his whip.
And even He-Man has all three weapons. That's what I like.
Oh, God, yeah. He got the sword, shield, and axe all together. The sword looks precise. I mean,
did you notice what
sword?
Oh, yeah. What shocked me is, did you notice that they made a unique-looking sword for Skeletor? They didn't just do they didn't do the purple power sword. It was like a different sword. So, cool as hell. But, yeah, Larry, again, thanks so much, man. I mean, it's a really awesome, kind gesture, and we appreciate it, and I, definitely do. And just amazing. So thanks a lot.
And Larry had said, if any listeners are interested, contact him. Me and Joe are both friends with him. If you're not friends with him on Facebook, I don't know how many. There, Larry Hose. I'm sure there's multiples on Facebook, but he's friends with both of us. So go to our Facebook, look up, find him if you're not already friends with him, or you may already find him. He's from Singapore, and he said he would hook the listeners up with the site to purchase them. That's probably the easiest way if you're looking to get a set. This is probably the easiest way to go about it because he was unsure of the website. So he said the best way is just contacting him through Facebook, and he will send you the link to purchase your own set of Lego He-Man figures. I mean, look how awesome that Manny Faces is. I mean, God, on that. So if you want a set, contact Larry Hoth through Facebook. And Larry, I can't thank you enough for this incredible gesture. Like I'm super pumped to go to Walmart or Target and look for a castle playset that's going to fit within my budget, and then I can display a nice little battle scene. I mean, because I asked him, I was like, are they going to do more of these? Like he wasn't sure. I was like, I want to see. Like, because with Lego, they've done horses. Like, I want to see Strider and Night Stalker done. I want to see Clamp Champ and Fisto and Cobra Khan. And then I'm like, what about Thundercats? Can we get Thundercats in these? And, and I know people have, go ahead.
I'm glad you said that. I can't remember where, and I don't know if it was from the same series, but I'm almost guaranteed I did see Thundercat versions of these. I almost guarantee I seen those. So if I see those, yes, I'll link everybody as well. But I'm almost certain I seen Thundercat Legos too.
Well, then I gotta have Thundercats because I gotta be able to combine. I'll always have to combine the uniforms. So,
oh yeah.
If you see that, please let me know, and I'll have to go.
I will. Definitely. No, most definitely. Now, okay. Well, like I said, we have a few topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the one kid stuff record book of Castle Grayskull. And do we need toys to be in the cartoon for us to appreciate having the toys that we had that didn't show up? But also, we're going to talk about Mekaneck. And I wanted to jump into Mekaneck just specifically, really quickly, for one reason. This is going to be something that you're going to say, Joe, why the hell are you asking me this when it has nothing to do with Mekaneck? But I'm building up to something.
But you're going to do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyways, just so it can annoy you and say, Joe, you brought absolutely nothing to the show with what you just said, but thanks for wasting everybody's time. But here it is. Evil Seed and Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Now, who was that did, worked on both of them again? Because you said somebody that worked. Barney Cohen, is that who you said?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Did he have anything to do with, and Deucin might even be able to jump in, but did he have anything to do with Search for a Son or somebody that worked with it?
No, that's the only episode he worked on was just Evil Seed. That's the only one that was greenlit that he wrote.
Do you know if he might have been friends with somebody that worked on Search for a Son? Because
I heard he went to high school with Larry DeTiller's father's cousin's sister's former roommate, and that the
so that's a no.
Janice Diamond used to date Barney Cohen's cousin, but if you buy the rumors and innuendo that Larry Houston was roommates with Barney Cohen in college. But that I'm really going nowhere with this to make fun of Joe. And whatever theory you're getting to is going to go nowhere fast. In fact, it's already got a house, kids, wife, family, dog in the city of nowhere right now. And is going to die a slow, miserable death as this conversation continues to go nowhere.
Because in Search for a Son, there's one particular scene when they're like in a courtyard. They're panning through this courtyard. There's one kind of figure that's standing there that made me think, hey. But then it comes to this spot, and it looks so damn obvious to me and blatant. There's like a head laying kind of sideways, a disfigured head with a strange-looking face that's one of these statues pieces around. It almost looks like a waterfall or whatever the hell is in that garden. And if I was to look at that, it looked close to being like how Jason Voorhees looked at the end of Part 4 when his mask got knocked off. Now, there's no machete in his face. There's nothing like that. But this detail... I didn't know if anybody ever asked, like, what did you guys draw there and what was your inspiration? Because I thought, hey, did the guy that worked on Search for a Son, maybe he was buddies with, like you said, what was it, Gary Cohen? Like maybe he was,
and you just botching everything.
What's his name? Barney, Gary, Larry, but that's why I said I don't know it. But Barney Cohen, I thought maybe he was friends with him and did this as a little Easter egg for him. But I looked at that and it does look kind of like Jason at the end of Part 4 when his mask was off and his face was sideways. It looks so out of place, so strange, but for somebody to me to look at something like that, it kind of caught my eye. And I didn't know if you ever seen that weird spot in this courtyard.
I haven't watched that episode in a while because I didn't think it was a very good episode. I just
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, I've only watched it a couple times because it was Mekaneck centric, and Buzz Off shows up in a brief part. You know, it's got Shakespearean actor Count Marsden, and I'm like, it's dead in the water just because of that. So, no, that's your reason for wanting to jump into a Mekaneck discussion because you think Jason showed up in the background of the courtyard. Man,
no, I said because you brought up talking about Mekaneck, and I thought, well, I was obviously trying to get a little refreshed on some things I didn't know, and as I was watching that episode, I was like, what the hell is that? That looks like Jason. Now, like Deucin in the chat room, he said, well, Filmation artists were movie fans, so he said anything's possible. But I just found it.
In all seriousness, anything is possible. But I haven't watched that episode in quite a while, so I have no idea what Joe's talking about. Anything's possible, but I don't know, and I really don't know how to continue with that.
No, just curious. But no, as for Mekaneck himself, like, you're right. He only appeared in very few episodes of Filmation. But, God, nothing... It's like nothing was eventful for me of his appearances. I mean, hell, he used his neck to save his son, Philip, in the one episode, and the others, I was like, what is he doing? Now, see, this is what pisses me off, because to go from such a cool-ass figure, because I love the Mekaneck...
First appearance of Disappearing Dragons, because that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Because as for the figure... I always loved the damn figure when I first got the figure. I liked having it to where he turned the waist. He looks like he's, he can see things from distances. You're doing what you're seeing on the back of his car back butt. I remember I used to like having him bend forward. I'd turn and have him, bam, knocking people with his head. And then it comes into the cartoons and there was like barely anything going on. I hated that. We finally got to see Mekaneck. And then nothing happens. And then that makes me think, do you think that's why he started getting mocked? And then when MYP came around, it's like, oh, let's make the woe is me Mekaneck where I'm worthless and I'm not good for anything. They sure didn't do him any service in Filmation. And, you said there was 2 episodes where he had like kind of a good booming, echoey voice. And then for whatever reason, and here, there, Skeletors everywhere, whatever episode it was, he had that goofy ass voice.
Real voice.
Yes, like what happened? I don't get it.
All right. Well, his prime episode of Disappearing Dragons was because the voice was perfect. He was depicted as a very competent, smart, and buddy of Buzz Off and He-Man, and it's just to me, just because of how great that episode has been for me, it was such a as we all know, it's a tremendous favorite of mine to have 4 characters of the 84 Wave all pop up in the same episode, but I absolutely loved how Mekaneck was depicted in it. I loved his camaraderie with Buzz Off. I loved seeing his his disc division that he has where he's closing in on Webster and Cobra Khan, and you see like the close-ups and then the mug shots of them, like he's got like 5 characters are. It was just like, okay, that's what you expect to see from Mekaneck. You see his, and then when Cobra Khan wraps around him,
kind of like Squeeze, almost was like Squeeze when he did that.
Which I'm like, it was like we didn't know Cobra Khan could stretch his arms, which is something Filmation added along with Mekaneck spinning, and I bought both of them. We got Squeeze later on, and we have Cyclone, who both do these extra gimmicks that Cobra Khan and Mekaneck do. But in the cartoon, I buy it. I still buy into it because that was Filmation's contribution to adding a little bit more to the characters, much like Buzz Off and his Stinger Lance, which is a hell of a lot better.
I like that weapon. Yeah, I like that weapon. That was a cool weapon. And you're right.
For that, I think, yes, Mekaneck got a piss poor appearance, and here there's Skeletors everywhere. His voice was a little bit better in Search for a Son, but it will never be. And I asked James Etalk about this years ago. Because I was like, why the hell is his voice? It's all voiced by Lou Scheimer, but the voice is different in every single episode. And he's like, obviously, it just seemed like that Lou just couldn't quite remember the voice, and it just got changed because his appearances were so sporadic in season 2. Whereas, he kept the same voice for Stratos, the same one for King Randor. Let's see, I was trying to think who else. I mean, his Triclops changed slightly, but for the most part was pretty much the same. Trapjaw was the same. So you kind of feel like what is it about that? I mean, hell, Cyclone's voice changed in his 2 appearances where he actually spoke, where they just weren't very good. It had that kind of the character Theron from Mistaken Identity, where we see Modulok's like previous incarnation of Galen Nightcroft. The character Theron, very whiny, very piss poor animated character, is that voice is used for Mekaneck and Here Their Skeletors everywhere. And I think it's even used for Cyclone and Beauty and the Beast. Very, very bad voice. We're getting way off here. Mekaneck, to me, from what I knew as a kid, he was depicted very prominently in Kick-Ass. I blame everything that people feel that Mekaneck is this lame ass character with a bad gimmick on MYP, because prior to that, I never heard of Mekaneck on the old days of the forums and other websites, and in any kind of the fan community being looked upon as this lame, silly character, which maybe it was. I just didn't see it. But to me, as a child, he was up there as one of my more sought after and beloved characters, like with Buzz Off, Jitsu, and Claw, because I thought, oh my god, this is an incredible character. Like, his neck stretches and he looks awesome visually. And I blame NYP for that. I think that's where you got these goofs writing the DC comics, making their jabs at Mekaneck, and people just like those morons and the toys that made us, and making fun of Mekaneck and stuff like that too. I mean, it just shows you that NYP has had a big impact on what people think and perceive of these characters, and it's a shame that they felt, well, we think this character's silly, or they felt like, what do we do? Let's make him pitiful. And we've said it millions of times on this podcast, it sucks to have people think that way about Mekaneck and Extendar, or vice versa. Like, you think one, or Stratus and Buzz Off, and I think Mekaneck's been treated poorly for years, ever since the NYP cartoon came out. I hated it when Mekaneck's Lament came out, and he was being depicted as this schlubby character who thought, I can't do anything except stretch my neck. I'm like, God, why do they have to go down this route? As if like you have nothing interesting to offer to these characters except let's make him feel sorry for himself. It's like, God, man, it's how do you feel sorry for any of these characters? The entire roster of He-Man heroes and villains. There's not one character that's not a badass, and that's why I am like, do fans look at these characters and think, oh, that character was lame? I mean, same thing with superheroes. It's hard for me to look at the vast majority of Marvel and DC superheroes and think, I don't care what people think. That guy looks like a badass. And of course, there's some that might be considered kind of lame or just kind of knockoffs, like Plastic Man. I'm like, he looks kind of silly. But I don't know. I love Mekaneck. I love him so much. I think he's a fantastic character visually. And like with most characters, you need a good writer to make these characters work. And I think a lot of it's blamed on the writers. Like I feel like Mekaneck wasn't given a whole lot of appearances in the mini comic. He was in He-Man the Insect People, which was a mini comic I sought after wholeheartedly as a kid and like they never got.
Which is the only one that I've seen him do any attack with his head. It's like the only time, other ones, yes, we've seen his neck extending to see stuff, but that was the only time I've seen some action. I was like, why am I left with having to, which is great, when you're kids, you use your imagination. It's like, I enjoyed Mekaneck so much more as an action figure than in the comics, because when the comics, he barely did anything. Like you said, He-Man the Insect People. He was in the Obelisk, however you want to pronounce it.
I still don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah. So, I mean, even in that one, it's like, he's with He-Man. They both got their hands charged with some photon ray, but then nothing happened. I was like, I always felt like that felt incomplete. The Obelisk, it's like, was there something else meant for this mini comic? Because nothing happened. After Mekaneck and He-Man both charged their hands, you see, like in another panel or page, He-Man's hands charged. You never see anything else from Mekaneck after that. So that had me lost. And then Skeletor's Dragon, he's in there, uneventful. Mantenna, we don't even talk about Mantenna's mini comic, uneventful. And the Treachery of Modulok. He's standing in the background. That's what I mean. I just got pissed because I wanted to see more. It's like, yes, I understand his neck and his using his recon abilities and being able to see far, which is great. Yes, that's part of the character itself too. But you still want to see some action at some point. So when I wasn't seeing a lot, I'm left with just the action figure to do that because it's such a cool ass looking action figure in the gimmick in general. So yes, they brought part of that, like you said, into the cartoon, and it was cool to see when he used that to then spin, like you said, to attack. I like that, but I wish we had more because, like you said, we were stuck with three, just very few episodes in Filmation, and then he gets a ton in MYP. And yes, they tried to have him getting down at points, but I'm not into all this flipping and crazy stuff and spinning the his mace so much. I wish there could have been more with that too, because like you said, we got the "oh woe is me" pitiful thing with him in Mekaneck's Lament, but I think they try to have him even using his head to attack at points, which was cool. At least he's doing something, but it's crazy. We get tons of them from MYP, and then from that portrayal of him as being the pitiful character, then they kept expanding upon that. Like when they were starting to do some of the stupid DC stuff and have him getting picked on, like, oh, what do you, when Tilo's picking on him, like, what good are you for, or whatever she said. It's like, oh god, now you're just gonna focus on him being supposedly a woe is me character instead of somebody that could be a badass. He's doing recon, he could fight. I just don't understand why they had to do it to him because he's such a cool ass looking character.
I mean, I felt like they did it a few times in MYP outside of Mechaneck's Lament, like in the Council of Evil Part 2, when he's used as bait to attract He-Man. When everyone else is, imprisoned in Skeletor's dungeon, I almost felt like, why are you using Mekaneck as if like he's the weakest link? Like, I'm sorry, Tila has no powers at all. And neither does Man at Arms. Why aren't you using one of them? It's just like that. And then when Rise of the Snake Man Part 2, Mekaneck's getting his ass kicked by the Snake Man infantry. I remember me and my brother were watching it. He started laughing because he saw Mekaneck was being depicted as like the weakest link, like the guy that needed someone to come along and help. He's on the ground being like scratched at and everything. And my brother just laughed, and I thought, this does not help my cause of saying Mekaneck is a strong, heroic warrior when they're depicting him as this guy that can be easily, taken out. But he has incredible spinning skills with his mace. So much that he can dazzle Triclops' eyes and then hit him with the head. It was just like, oh my god, it's people not getting behind these. And I'm sure in various cartoons that fans are very supportive of, from G.I. Joe, Transformers, and She-Ra, and Brave Star, and various superhero cartoons, there's a character you really like, and they're being laughed at or made fun of, or they're given bad voice acting, or they're just not being treated the same as everybody else because the writer just has nothing for them. And they felt like, I'm being told to throw this character in and just do it, which I guess kind of ties into our toy placement.
Yes.
Discussion, which Joe had brought up, which to me, to see Mekaneck, Buzz Off, Webster, and Cobra Khan in the cartoon, that was a big deal to me because, as I said before, when you're seeing the same roster of characters over and over again, you either got to come up with some incredible, awesome stories to justify using the same roster of characters, because after a while, it gets a little boring seeing just Trapjaw and Beastman and mixing it up and throwing in Merman, and then if you're really lucky, you see Triclops. Because you just kind of get tired of, because it was, exciting to see, a Webster thrown in, or hell, it was exciting to see Spike until you realize how he talked. But it was just mixing it up and showing that, there's a wide variety of heroes and villains. And as a kid, it was disappointing to, not see that. And then, of course, you learn to appreciate the stories like The Dragon's Gift, which is just Skeletor. That's it. There is no wide variety of cast of characters thrown in. But then you have something like one of Joe's favorites, To Save Skeletor, when you got Fisto and Whiplash thrown into the mix. And they're used pretty prominently. They don't take away from the story. They don't look like they're used as product placement. They are made part of the story. And I think that's when, you can place the toys, just use them prominently. I mean, obviously, when they throw in the Dragon Walker in the episode Frady Cat, I'm like, yes, that's clearly product placement. I didn't necessarily see the roster of villains of Clawful, Cobra Khan, Merman, and Whiplash as product placement because, I mean, by that point, they've been used multiple times in the series, so it's just kind of using this group of warriors, whereas the Dragon War clearly comes off as, it's not.
I remember how excited I was just to see Rotan in the cartoon. I was disappointed at how it was really shown, but I remember when we finally seen Rotan flying, I was like, "Oh my god, I love this damn vehicle."
It was awesome to see that. And it was awesome to see it flying as opposed to used as a land vehicle that would just kind of demolish stuff as it charged, like the land shark.
Yeah, because what's weird is obviously as the toy, again playing with it, you like rolling it across the carpet or the floor and seeing the blade spin. But we've seen in posters and other types of media, and of course the cartoon, we see that it's a flying vehicle and probably could be used for the ground too. But I never took the Rotan and went wee, and I just never did that. See, that's another difference is we got the figure, of course, I had the figures first, then here comes the cartoon. But sometimes for others, they might experience the cartoon first with the figures and got used to seeing all the characters from the cartoon. And maybe when they didn't see a figure, even know of a figure, maybe it didn't mean much to them. Me, and you and others, I just know that anytime a figure came out, I love the figure. Did I hope it would appear in the cartoon? Sure. Did I expect it would? No. But it didn't make me play with that any less. But in a lot of groups, and I mean a lot of people have said this, if they didn't see the toy or the Eternia playset or a lot of characters in the cartoon, they don't really have a personal attachment. A lot of them they experienced He-Man for the first time through the cartoon, and yes, with the toys as well. But some of the people that were just for the cartoon or moved past, they didn't get to feel it. I never thought that I'd see so many people when it was brought up in one particular page. They said, the Eternia playset. Did you love it, or you didn't like it, or did you think it was a ripoff of Cat's Lair? And a lot of people said, never had it, never seen it. Oh, it wasn't in the cartoon. Didn't know about it. Oh, Eternia should have been the Eternia from the Eternia Palace in the cartoon. It's so different, And again, they're entitled to their opinions, and I can understand where they're coming from. But I didn't feel like having any of the figures not appear in the cartoon made them any less important in my eyes. But that's because I experienced the toys, cartoon, and everything and can enjoy it. But I know some people, if they didn't see Scareglow, Ninjor, Blast Attack, and a lot of them in the cartoon, they're like, who the hell are these people? They didn't know. A lot did move past He-Man at the time. They're like, I've never seen them in the cartoon. So it's strange and it's unique. It's different to see people's experiences of why they might like something a little more than the other. But yeah, a lot of the later figures and waves, they really got a backlash from a lot of fans because they're like, I don't know who the hell these characters, vehicles, and playsets are.
Doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, not to me either.
No, and even if so you're saying because all these people have seen every single episode of He-Man, like I feel like that kind of comes off is a very narrow-minded mindset because are you saying you didn't have any attachment to I'm trying to think of who had, like Manny Faces had 2 appearances, one in season 1 and one in season 2, very very spread apart. Are you more attached to Manny Faces than you are with Too Bad? I mean, or Spikor, who was in, or even Too Bad. Too Bad showed up in at least I think 3. Let's see. He was in Here There Skeletors Everywhere. He was in Ancient Mirror of Avatar. He was in Visitors from Earth. He was in Capture. 4 episodes. Too Bad was in 4 episodes. 2 more than Manny Faces, who was released in the second wave and used in season 1. Are you saying you don't have? I mean, is it just any appearances at all? Because I kind of feel like with Star Wars fans when they purchase characters that were just shown in the background of the cantina who are not really focused on the camera, but the camera sees them in the same shot as some of the other aliens. Are you saying you don't have any how can you have attachment to someone who didn't have any speaking lines and they're just shown walking around in the background? I feel like you were really limiting yourself as a He-Man fan to sit there and say, I can't enjoy Plant Champ, Scareglow, and Ninjor and Mosquito because they weren't in Filmation. I'm like, well, then you're missing a lot of the characters then, or saying, it just doesn't.
It shocks me. It does. It does when I see it, and it goes on quite a bit in a lot of the groups on Facebook. It just shocks me. Like nothing against the Cat's Lair playset, because as a kid I had Cat's Lair. I had a couple of other things. Well, like I said, and not many of the Thundercats, but eventually when it was time to sell stuff, in moving back in the day, that stuff all was sold. I only kept my He-Man collection. That was it. But so many people were saying Eternia is a complete ripoff of Cat's Lair, and it looks terrible compared to Cat's Lair. Nothing against Cat's Lair, but I was like, you guys need to take a second look. Because if you're saying the detail and look of Cat's Lair destroys Eternia, okay, I understand the central tower is a cat. We understand that. We can see that. But there's a hell of a lot of more detail and grit and look into this set. I mean, it's ginormous. I mean, plus you have the Viper Tower, the Grayskull Tower, the tracks that go around it, the working inners of the elevator, the stuff that the central tower can do. There was a lot. I love my Cat's Lair too. But there is no way that somebody could say that this is a ripoff just because of the cat in the center. It's like, but look at the rest of the entire playset of Eternia. Nothing is similar to Cat's Lair beyond that. And it's quite a difference in the shading, the way they painted it, the way they sculpted, any of the details. And you look at Cat's Lair, a lot of flat colors. Cool as shit, though, because yes, it's like the cartoon, but it's like you guys need to reevaluate and look at this closer before you make a comparison, because a lot of them are comparing because they don't even have the playset. They never experienced Eternia's playset. So it's just getting this badass rep of being a ripoff of Cat's Lair or something I don't understand, which sucks because I've said the story a million times. It's my favorite playset. I had such a blast playing with that months in a row. The amount of different things that could be done with it. It was, yes, it's big, but shit, I mean, there's big playsets for G.I. Joe. There's big things for Transformers, Star Wars. There's always going to be some big, massive set. And then you let your imagination run wild. And plus, yes, they give you the mini comics. And it's almost like Dewson said, did a lot of the people even look at the mini comics? It's like, hell, these characters that they didn't like because they didn't appear in the cartoon, it's like, still had a comic, but hell, maybe they just never bought the figure in general to even understand about the comic. I mean, it's weird rationalizing, but I get shocked when some people say there's some things that they really hate, but they never really gave a chance or understand what they're talking about when they want to hate something so badly.
All right, to address two things that Joe just said there. I mean, hell, the Eternia playset. I mean, you look at the prototype drawings. Originally, it was a wolf motif for the central tower, not a cat. So I'm sorry they went through multiple ideas and thoughts, and obviously the cat worked. And, it's being worked on in 1985 and released in 1986. The first wave of Thundercat figures came out in 85. I don't believe Cat's Lair didn't come out till the second wave. So, and plus they look nothing alike. Just because it just comes off as narrow-minded thinking again that, oh, there's a cat and there's a cat. Oh, clearly He-Man that's been around a lot longer is trying to rip off this brand new toy line.
Yeah.
I do not think that for 1 second. No, that just comes off as just lazy thinking and like that one goof that threw down with me and Joe about a year or so ago, telling us that Faker was not a robot, that he was a evil version of He-Man, and he was like, no, I'm sorry, you guys are wrong, and me and Joe just like, all right, genius, let's just show you the card art and the box that says evil robotic imposter. I'm not saying that everybody has to know everything about He-Man.
No,
people make these arguments. Look, there should be no reason why fans of He-Man, casual or hardcore, should not know the ins and outs of who the characters are, what came first, what came next, when they came out. With all this information, I mean, you've got commercials, you've got interviews, you've got documentation, blogs, all over the place, on He-Man and Thundercats. I just feel like, what you people need to, look, if you're that passionate about He-Man, do your research. It's free. You don't have to, pay to find out this information. I mean, that Battle Ram blog that's put, I forgot what it's called. It's called like the Battle Ram blog.
Yeah, I understand about.
Yeah, I love reading that blog where the guy just puts up these fun little anecdotes about his experiences with Stridor and Jitsu, and talks about, when these characters came out, just stuff like that. I mean, you got facts like that out there for free. I just think, yes, I think the only thing that I feel like He-Man may have taken notions from another toy line was the Meteor Orbs and the Rock Wars, with Transformers being such a giant hit and incorporating that. That I will say, I'm sure Mattel saw how powerful Transformers were.
Sure.
Let's use a little bit of that and incorporate into our toy line using, space rocks and things, which it worked great. So other than that, no, I don't see any connection with that. And then the whole idea of saying you can't connect to a character because it wasn't in the cartoon. I mean, so you're saying you can't appreciate any of the Snake Men except Tongue Lasher and Rattler because they showed up in She-Ra, or you can't appreciate.
You know what I've heard of that? I'm glad you just brought that up about the Snake Men. There are so many people said they're the reason that Masters of the Universe went away. The Snake Men was a terrible concept, and because of them, that's why the toys started selling worse and worse and worse and went away because
really
that,
all those people all worked for Mattel and knew that 1986 when the movies come out and all these other, it was like it's all because of the Snake Men.
All because of them, exactly.
Yes, they have got their pulse on the industry of the toy industry in the 80s, ignoring the fact that competition.
I love the Snake Man.
He-Man was a juggernaut for 82, 83, 84, 85, and then slowly died off in sales. And of course, with that goofy-ass documentary, Toys That Made Us, one of the execs throws out another reason why the toy line declined was they're saying that He-Man and Skeletor, the prime characters, was not available anymore as much, and all you could buy were all the new casted characters, as opposed to the variants that were being put out, which I'm like, that's why I almost feel like, does anyone have a concrete reason? Because there's nothing but theories out there, because I just kind of felt like, with me being, so much younger than most of the He-Man fans of the day, coming along so late, He-Man and Skeletor were the first figures I bought, and that was in 87, maybe 86. So I had no issues finding it, and that's what got me into He-Man. So I don't know what to believe. I have no idea if it's strictly it was a juggernaut, and just like with most toy lines, eventually dies down. Same thing.
Sure, it happens with almost anything in any kind of property, everything.
I just like to sit there and say it's the 86 wave. No, the 86 wave just happened to coincidentally be the first victim of the decline in sales. I mean, you just can't help what seems to be like this is the end of the ride for He-Man.
I mean, you're right. It just
so much where Transformers felt like we got to reinvent our toy line with Generation 2, which did not take well. And G.I. Joe, I thought went strong into the 90s. A lot of fans, obviously sales died down for that as well. And
like I said, it just happens with everything. It's understandable. That's just what goes on. But no, as for the Snake Man, God, did I love them, especially when you're seeing the toys and when they're advertising these new figures that are coming out. And even after you bought them, you just love like, oh my God, wait a second, the King Hiss commercial that's coming on right now when they show that the snake, the skin come off. Oh my God, talk about just instant falling in love with a figure. But I loved all of them. I loved my three that I loved playing with most was Squeeze, King Hiss, and Snakeface. Oh my God, those were my favorite Snake Men. But I loved all the Snake Men anyways. But
yeah, I did too. Unfortunately, I didn't get to hang on. I'm having issues here with my setup here. Apologize here, people. No, I just that entire roster of the 86 wave. What's not to like? You got with the new faction of the Snake Men, you've got more Hordemen and more heroic warriors. The Eternity of Playset came out. We've got awesome vehicles in the Fright Fighter, and you got the accessories of the Mega Laser and the Stilt Stalkers and the Jet Sled. I just doesn't understand why people just, of course, if people like to look at the 87 Wave 2 as another lame year, but to me, the line just kept getting better and better. I just, of course, I know the Joe community, they look upon 87 as one of the worst waves because of how outlandish the characters got. To me, I love the 87 wave with Crystal Ball, the Cobra Law characters, Big Boa, who's one of my favorite, and Crocmaster, two of my absolute favorite G.I. Joe characters that came out of the 87 wave period, and yet it's looked upon as this ridiculous, outlandish wave. I'm like, God, I thought it was awesome, and I think the line just kept getting better. So I understand if Joe fans like the more army-based, strictly like the first wave, but to me, the roster just kept getting bigger and better. And and that's why I love He-Man so much, is that when you got Ninjor, Clamp Champ, Scareglow, Mosquito, King Randor, the Sorceress, the movie figures, and knowing what was coming after that with the hero wave and characters like Terror and Hotshot or Plasma or whatever you want to call them,
And what a different, no, but you're right. What a different way that people could experience Masters. Because again, like you said, some people they were more hyped and into the cartoon, and the toys just complemented the cartoon. For me, well, and how it was originally. Remember, you had the toys first, then eventually came the cartoon. But I was always that addict for going to the store and just thinking, what's coming next?
Yeah.
Because you didn't remember, no internet back then, and heck, you weren't even seeing previews in catalogs or some things. It just had to happen. So when you seen something new, like when I walked in and you spoke of the wave, like I said, when you're seeing Scareglow, when you're seeing Clamp, Champ King, Randor, Source, when I seen those in the store, I just remember shaking. I'm going, it was hysterical. I was like, what is this? Like, that's a new character. That's a new character. I mean, you just got them all because that was with birthday money. I remember I walked into the store and damn it, if they didn't have all these new figures, and I was able to get every single one of them, go home, play with, create adventures. And again, a lot of them were not in the cartoon, but that didn't make them any less important, amazing, fantastic. You loved it. So I didn't need just the cartoon to understand and appreciate the toys. But there's those that it's, might need it from the cartoon. Some just love the toys, but for me,
but why deny yourself the pleasure of expanding your collection and learning about these characters? I mean, as a kid, I didn't see Too Bad in the cartoon until when I was in 11th grade. It was just strictly the Roboto mini comic and what other storybooks I happened to see the character in, and that was it. But I mean, I really wanted to see him in the cartoon, but I'll be damned if I was going to sit and make myself feel like, I can't play with Too Bad because he was in the cartoon. I didn't see Cyclone in the cartoon. I didn't see Stridor. I didn't see Moss Man. And I had Rio Blast. Did it make me not want to play with it? Because it's like, no, it just doesn't make sense that you're letting the cartoon, which I appreciate your passion for the cartoon. I hold in the highest regard too. But this property has got entirely too many rich depths to not, or to disregard and keep yourself withdrawn from expanding your roster of heroes and villains. I mean, Star Wars fans, they embrace every single damn character from the background of the Death Star in this chamber to the cantina to Jabba's palace. I think it's great. And the He-Man fans, I feel like we should be the same. Why should we deny ourselves? This character wasn't in the mini comics, so therefore I can't support that, or he wasn't in the live action movie. I just don't understand the logic in that. I'm not telling people what to think, but I just feel like you're denying yourself the joy and excitement of, like, why wouldn't you want a mosquito or a Scareglow or a damn ninja, an evil one at that, standing by Skeletor's side? Why would you not want that? Or Squeeze, an Anaconda Snake Man. Why would you not want that?
I think that's
Blade,
it.
a guy with an eye patch who's a skilled swordsman with darts on his left wristband, an expert, knife wielder and swordsman. Why would you not want that? Because he wasn't in the cartoon. It doesn't make much sense, and I just kind of.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, we definitely, like I said, we're passionate about everything from the mini comics, cartoon, toys, movie, all that. So sometimes, yes, we get a little worked up. And again, you're right. We're not telling everybody, you believe this, you say, listen to exactly what we're saying. And if you don't, we're not wanting you here in the podcast, in the chat room no more. No, nothing like that. It's just,
No.
I think we do get so damn excited thinking, man, I love it all. So I can't see why wouldn't people embrace any of the characters from the mini comics, the cartoons, brand new characters that come out of nowhere. I mean, how cool was Drago, man, from the Four Horsemen for classics? It's like, wow, what a breath of fresh air. It's like, if I would have seen that as a vintage style figure when I was a kid, I probably would have lost my shit. That's what's so cool, is when you can be shocked with new, amazing characters. So I would hope that, yes.
Well, that, and along with, I had a point I was just going to say, and that now I just the new Adventures characters, yes, they don't have the strongest portrayals in the cartoon, but the characters themselves alone look great. Like, Too Bad was depicted very piss poorly in Filmation. Does that take away value for me? No. I mean, all I got to do is look at the vintage figure. I'm like, I'm sorry, the figure itself is too damn strong and too much of a badass to let Filmation's poor portrayal of him take. Cyclone's my favorite heroic warrior. Not given the best treatment in Filmation. I still think he's my absolute favorite heroic warrior. Doesn't matter how Filmation portrayed him. Or Moss Man, or some people don't like Webster's voice. I think it worked perfectly. To me, it just makes the character that much more fun in the cartoon. But it just not everybody.
Like Spikor too. I mean, love the Spikor figure. Hated how he was in Filmation, but
I'm sorry, the
figure's
badass. Spikor is awesome.
especially in the mini comic too. Just seeing him in the mini comic, how evil it was. But
one-on-one in that. I mean, that's that's why I feel like we can't let everything that Filmation did dictate our views on this, because I think at some point every character is given a poor interpretation. I mean, it's not like Skeletor was depicted great in every single episode of He-Man. And I can't let that decide. Obviously, the general public lets that decide how they view He-Man and Skeletor when they're given these goofy-ass commercials that just make them silly and hokey. And, oh, yeah, I remember that He-Man. Yeah, he was so silly and goofy walking around in his loincloth, and Skeletor was just this whiny villain. I'm like, God, you people are so narrow-minded and just too lazy to revisit this stuff that's free on YouTube to watch clips and stuff, or do a little damn research, because you'd rather just make it a joke and move on. So, what? Don't bother. Leave it alone if you're not going to treat damn dignity.
No, it's almost, because you figure you definitely can research nowadays, obviously, very easily. It's right there at your fingertips.
Why would you want to remember this stuff as silly and hokey anyway? If you're an adult and you remember this stuff fondly, and yet you're letting, these dumbass commercials, here in the States or wherever it is, in various parts of the world, where they're making fun of him, or that lame-ass skit on Saturday Night Live where they just made a joke out of He-Man and Lion-O. Why would you want to remember those characters as anything less, than what you as a young boy aspired? Like, I wanted to be like He-Man. I want to be like Lion-O, a badass who had muscles and had a powerful magic sword, and you hung out with cool guys and you kicked ass, all over the place, and saved beautiful women and saved the kingdom and saved this world and saved that world. And why would you want to see something so macho depicted as just this big lame-ass joke? Why would you want that? Why do you want to remember your childhood as nothing more than just silly nonsense? And you're like, oh, I had fondness for that. I wouldn't mind having the toy, but man, it was such a silly toy when you look back at it. Do you want to remember Snake Eyes as you remember the episode where he was dancing with Shipwreck and like this chorus line in that one episode of G.I. Joe? Oh, Snake Eyes is lame because he was doing that. Like, why would you want to remember Snake Eyes in such poor form when he's like the ultimate badass of G.I. Joe, or Cobra Commander is a whiny, goofy villain? Like, God, why deprive yourself of enjoying these mythologies of She-Ra and He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Brave Star and Bionic 6? I mean, there were some great ideas, great characters.
Yeah, and that's why we do it. We do it not only because we just love this podcast, but it's because in case there were people that maybe have never read a particular mini comic, maybe didn't see an episode of the cartoon, or hell, maybe didn't experience a toy, you can maybe now, hey, maybe it'll get you excited to want to read that comic or find that toy or do a little research. Because the one that really got me the most, it was years ago in Classics before they made Titus and Megator. And it was one particular thread that popped up. And there's a few people that kept saying the same thing as this one person in particular. But one guy he wouldn't let it go about one thing. Titus and Megator, they said, back then, before they were released, they said, I don't know if we'd ever see it. This is what the fans were saying. I don't know if we'd see it. I mean, they're giants. I doubt they do giants. Then here came this one person that said, well, why don't they just do them in 6-inch form? And I typed, then I said, because Titus and Megator are giants. They're not 6 inches. He typed back, how do you know they're giants, though? I said, because of their vintage figures. I said, did you ever see they had vintage figures? He's like, well, they weren't released here in the States. I was like, but you can look. You can see that they're in catalogs. And I said, then there were international releases. I said, but they had official releases. And he said, well, I still think 6-inch would make sense. Plus, there was never any drawings of them. And I was like, oh my God, did you ever see the art? I was like, and there was people that were backing this guy up, kept saying, yeah, they could do them in 6-inch. They're never going to do them bigger. I was like, oh my God, would you guys just please type? It's the internet. I was the moron that just got on the internet. And I guarantee those people were there probably a lot longer than me. It's like, just type Titus Megator vintage He-Man figures. You're going to see the figures, the vintage art form, everything. They are giants, but they were so hell-bent on making me look stupid to say, no, they're going to be 6 inches and they should be 6 inches. I was like, holy Jesus. That one, Tyler, blew me away. It's like you said, I guess they didn't see him in the cartoon, so they knew nothing of Titus and Megator. So
I have no patience for jerk offs like that. I'm sorry. Like look, it's 2018. I mean, we're still uncovering more information, but the vast majority of information on the toys, the cartoon, the live action movie, it's all out there for free. For these morons to try and dictate how things are done on Facebook pages or social media outlets or on forums, and say because you got it in your lazy ass mind that you got all the answers to this stuff, knowing full well every scan and shot of every figure, card art, box art, prototypes are available on He-Man.org, on various Facebook pages and other websites, and you got people doing YouTube videos showcasing this information. But you got it in your lazy ass mind that you're going to tell others how it is, and saying things like, if you're going to do this stuff, there should be no reason, unless you clearly are a casual fan, and that is perfectly fine. You don't need to worry yourself about learning the ins and outs of when, Cyclone was, how we looked in prototype form, or, why we never got this character. That is perfectly fine. But if you're going to try and tell others that this guy never made it, or this guy was never made, you might as well sit there and say, oh yeah, Synchro was never released because it wasn't in the cartoon. Like, it was done in prototype form, but we never got it in figure form. I mean, that's why I don't engage in conversation with people on the internet about that kind of stuff. I don't have, when that guy, you and I, that we were wrong about Faker being a robot. I just this is why I don't engage in this nonsense. I don't have the patience or the tolerance when everything out there is for free for people to look up. There should be no reason, if you're going to be a hardcore fan, why you can't bother to research how many episodes Mekaneck was in. I'm not saying everybody needs to know that, but if you do not throw out comments, I can't believe you dealt with that nonsense as long as you did.
Well, I do it because just sometimes I told you I used to have issues when I'd go back and forth of anger and people saying stuff that would drive me nuts, and I would just keep going because I don't understand what are they not hearing with the logic and stuff that exists. So I've stopped doing most of that, though. I don't engage too much of getting angry no more because I hated getting angry. I just didn't understand. I was like, I don't understand how you don't know that these are giants. They were released as figures. There is art that exists. And especially, like you said, this day and age, you can just clearly research. Like, I don't, no, definitely, like you said, it's not like you have to, because I don't know how many episodes that Buzz Off, every episode he was in, or Man at Arms, or Ram Man. I can't shoot all that at somebody, but I'll admit, if I was to try to engage with somebody that did know that, I would want to try to research as much as possible because I never would want to go into any situation or discussion being very clueless, because then when people say, Joe, but what about this? But what about that? What about that? It's only going to make me look more and more dumb.
Well, look, there's no reason. If you're going to argue, you better come with the facts, because the facts are available for everyone to look at.
That's what I mean. At least have the facts. Yes. If you're going to engage.
Australia and Singapore can know as much as anybody in Washington or Alaska or anywhere in South America. We all got access to the same information. So if you're going to go and argue with other fans and say that, Scareglow wasn't the cartoon, I know for a fact he was, because, he was in 87 and the cartoon was still going on in 80. I mean, just some sort of nonsense like that. You got no business arguing if you're not going to come with the facts. And obviously people do it all the time. That's what gets people in trouble, because they like to harass and go after, because they're not going to be denied. I was made into a fool, so I'm going to threaten his family and his wife and children or boyfriend or whatever the case may be, because you made me look like a moron because I was too lazy to research that, Man at Arms came out in the first wave and he didn't come out in 1986 or some.
I know when to
always
step back.
Goofy like this. The simple fact that we're arguing over this stuff is ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I know when to. Yeah, because I do. I know when to step back. Like when it comes to Ninja Turtles, do I like them? Yes. Do I know everything about all the Ninja Turtles? Hell no. I don't know all the different cartoons, every episode, every single figure that was released. So if somebody ever wanted to get engaged and say, well, Joe, did you know about this one releasing this wave? That's why I'm like, nope, I'm never jumping in that, because I do not know all that. But if I was to engage in that, I definitely try to research. But yeah, again, Tyler and I, we don't know every single thing about Masters of the Universe, but when there's certain things we want to talk about, like I said, we try to, make sure we refresh on what mini comics or cartoons or toys or specific things to talk about. Because there's still a lot of international stories that I haven't read every single story when it pertains or it comes to people like Rio Blast or Grizzlor and a lot of their origins. I've seen some of them, I've read some, but not all of them. That's what I mean. There's a lot of stuff, but if we were ever to engage with more of it, I'd say, all right, Tyler, here, got to link you to this on He-Man.org. You got to check out this UK comic. You got to check out this UK annual, because there's many different stories. But the things we just try to have fun with, well, like I said, we'll say some of it, but we always say this isn't everything about Mekaneck that, he's had story-wise. Just certain things we talk about. We pick little
the
parts.
base. And look, if people like Joe has said it, and other people said, like, I don't know all that stuff that Tyler knows. I know it because I spent so much time watching the cartoons because I got such a thrill of watching the episodes, digging and researching on He-Man.org and various websites, looking up pictures, articles left and right all the time because I was hungry to know this information. And I put that probably because I came along at the tail end of He-Man. Everything was dried up, so it just left me wanting more. So I just was hungry to keep watching VHS tapes, keep hunting down more episodes, and looking at what the Attorney Place that finally looked like on the Adam Tyner website when I didn't know what it looked like until I actually saw that picture. I thought it was the Royal Palace up to that point because I was hungry to know more. I wanted to know more, watching the episodes, looking at the credits and watching interviews and listening to interviews, looking at James Detox's website and getting all these credits and thoughts and names. I'm like, I wanted to know more. I don't feel the need to argue with people. It's just something to keep the information flowing, to let people know. That's what I want people to take from this podcast. I don't want it to be just strictly, a stand-up where we just sit and come off as just casual. I want people to know that there's so much more to He-Man than just what Family Guy decides to make fun of this week on, about He-Man, or some lazy ass, commercial making fun of He-Man and Skeletor. That these characters, are badass heroes and villains, wonderful mythologies and stories by excellent writers and artists who continue to this day, like Axel and Kevin, who do beautiful artwork. And I mean, there's other people who've done tremendous fan art. Joe's Customs, like we do this for a reason, to keep it alive and keep it, keep the emotion high, that it shouldn't die down and just be looked upon as this joke, because the current media has no time to treat it as serious. Everything's got to be funny and silly. And, I love this line so much. I want people to enjoy it and appreciate it. You don't have to know as much as I do, or know about the outlets that came from various countries that Joe does. We're not telling you need to know this stuff, but if you're going to argue about it, there's no reason why you can't do a little bit of research before you reply or give your rebuttal to the guy on Snapchat, Instagram, or on a forum or on Facebook that you're currently arguing with. Do a quick Google search, for God's sake. If some guy's claiming that Titus and Megator came out in '83, but they were only released in Italy, I'm like, all you got to do is do a quick Google search to verify they came out in 1980 or '88.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's cool, is things that you find out, because that's what I love, is the different ways that people experience stuff. Mine was growing up with Masters from the beginning. Like you said, you were born later, so obviously you got into it at a different time. So it's like, maybe, hey, did Joe probably take things for granted? Like, he's seen the cartoon so many times, read the comics, played with the toys, that when I was done with it, why do I have a desire and need to go ahead and keep watching the cartoon or know, more information? But you were hungry for it, which is, again, the other cool thing, which leads into a thing we're going to talk about the Kid Stuff record book, Castle Grayskull. I knew nothing about a He-Man Bible. I didn't know what the hell. When I first started getting online and finally experiencing some of the sites and places on Facebook, people would say, hey, something about a He-Man Bible. And I'm like, what the hell is a He-Man Bible? What are you talking about? It's a Filmation He-Man Bible. It's about all the stuff that, was for the cartoon and things that they even didn't use in the cartoon. So then I had to experience it first. I mean, not first, for the first time for me, but I was late to the internet. So people like you and a lot of others probably in this chat room, that you guys were already researching, it. But it's like this book right here is this Castle Grayskull book. Now, this is what obviously as a kid you experience first. We knew nothing of a Bible. But what's fun is we were talking last week when we had James on, and he brought up about Biff Beastman, and Evelyn Powers, and things that were thought of in the Filmation Bible that were never used for the cartoon. But then we got that in the new Champions of Eternia, hardcover book, and also the stuff with, well, the count. Here, let me get to that one spot. I just wanted to, if I can show it, like the Hall of Wisdom and stuff. Now, this was, if I'm not mistaken, that was also mentioned in the Filmation Bible, but we never seen in the cartoon, the Filmation cartoon, the Hall of Wisdom, correct? They never showed. So I like that they took concepts that maybe they thought, wouldn't have worked for the cartoon, and bam, they popped it in some of these storybooks. Because I loved hearing about this, about how the origin of Castle Grayskull. It's how it began. It started, and it was first the Hall of Wisdom and the Council of Elders, and here comes the goddess or a woman. How it's always Tila / goddess / sorceress, whatever you want to call her. She said that something evil is going to come, convince them that they need to take all of their power, put it into a ball, and how they described Castle Grayskull for the first time, of why that it looks that way, to scare away anybody to even want to come to this place. And I know eventually that, yes, the stuff from the Filmation Bible, that was pretty much used for basically the premise of the beginning of the MYP cartoon, you'd say. Yeah, because if you'd read this, see, that's the thing. If you weren't somebody that knew of the Filmation Bible and you read this, you'd be like, hey, damn, that MYP cartoon, they did what was in this book. But this book did what was in the Filmation Bible. So for me, I was late to that. But what was your thoughts when you first came across the Filmation Bible, and then, your thoughts on this book as well? I just love that tying in factor of them.
The Bible, that was the biggest defense, was knowing that Biff Beastman, T.E. Scope, and Evelyn Powers were on the ship with Marlene. That was just a ridiculous thought. That was the biggest thing I took away, because I would read the descriptions of the various characters that James has elaborated in some of his videos, like Chopper and Lizard Man and things like that, where it was just kind of like you didn't quite know, at least from reading it, who that was supposed to be. And obviously, you find out it was like, eventually became Lizard Man and Whiplash and Jitsu or / Strong Arm. But that was the thing I took away the most from that. That's the thing that I remember the most from reading the Bible, and I just thought that was just the laziest idea possible. I'm so glad that they didn't, and it just made me that much more disappointed when I finally tracked down new Champions of Eternia, because I thought it was going to be introducing Fisto and Roboto and Cyclone, and I get it. I'm like, oh God, they're doing that whole like astronaut Bible stuff.
Right.
So disappointed when I got that book. God, it was. And I remember purchasing that off eBay, back in the early 2000s, and being so proud I got it. I'm like, oh.
Oh, so you experienced that book after you learned about the Filmation Bible stuff. So you maybe, okay. See, for me,
there was no synopsis. Like, He-Man.org didn't have scans of that book back then. I think it was just a picture of the book. So it was strictly like just tracking it down and just left up to this mystery of what is this going to be one of those books that's introducing new heroes into the mythology, like Fisto, Roboto, Cyclone, and Moss Man. And no, it was a really lazy story, bad art.
And you know what's weird is, really quick, not to interrupt you, but as a kid, I liked it because, well, I didn't know about the Filmation Bible, like I said, but as a kid, I was like, hey, it's kind of cool. Like, oh my God, they came from Earth. And, it was just a spin-off story as all the other different books. You had so many different books and stories, but I thought it was kind of cool how they looked one way, and then bam, then now you see who they really are, and you found out this story. For me as a kid, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But I never expected and never even dreamed that was a thought in the Filmation Bible that never came to be in the cartoon. But it's weird how you experience something. But I could see that if you would have read that, probably the Filmation Bible, seeing it never happen in the cartoon, then you got that book, you'd have been like, oh, what a hot mess. I can understand your point of view.
Well, just because even reading the Bible, it's just like, this makes no sense. It just seems too, they were trying, Michael Halpern, I just felt, was trying to make it too close to Earth. Like, I'm perfectly fine with Marlena coming from Earth, and that He-Man is the child of a woman from Earth and a man of Eternia. I'm like, I mean, it doesn't take away anything from the character. It doesn't add to the character either. It's just a fun little nod that she came with Earth, and let's be done with that. I don't think it takes away anything from the mythology. It's just kind of cool to kind of connect the two universes to a certain degree. But Earth is just it's just a fun little nod, and that's it. Take it nothing more than that. But just know that Beastman and Triclops and Evelyn are that they had this reaction, upon landing on Eternia to become, a beast man and a yellow-skinned sorceress and a warrior that has which I can't remember. I don't think he lost his sight or anything like that. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It was an idea that I'm glad was scrapped. I mean,
now what about, at least if anything, which I always still loved then and now, and obviously used for MYP. Did you experience Castle Grayskull's book first, or did you read about the Filmation Bible and talk about the Hall of Wisdom? How did you experience that first with knowing about this?
I came across the book and before the internet at an antique store, looked at it very quickly and put it back because I thought it was ugly as hell because it was cheap black and white illustrations. I thought it was so disappointing, so ugly. And it didn't matter to me what the story's about because I just thought, this is ugly. This is awful. This is cheap.
Oh, so you didn't even get to experience like hearing it in record or tape form back
it was
then.
an antique store, just the book. And I ran to it and it was, oh my God, a new He-Man book I've never seen before. And just the illustrations I just deflated. Like my head had swollen up so big and then...
Oh man, because a kid, because you remember this, I can't remember if it was.
Look, I was used to the Earl Norm, golden books with beautiful artwork on the cover and these colorful illustrations on the inside. And I picked this book up, and it's just these black and white drawings that were very, very unoriginal. Just very.
No, it was quick. I mean, they were very quick black and whites.
What I desired from He-Man, I had high standards as a kid when it came to He-Man. I had no time for ugly stuff when it came to He-Man. I expected to see Filmation quality, Earl Norm paintings, and, Fred Carrillo's artwork, and that's what I expected to see from He-Man. To see what's in that book, it was just a punch in the stomach. And I to this day, I don't think I have come across many vintage stuff and just turned it down simply because of that. I think as a child, I grabbed anything that was He-Man, from little buttons, like little pins to pencils, anything I could get my hands on. That was the one time as a kid, as a collector, because I started collecting as a kid eventually, like at 4th, 5th grade. The one time I saw something He-Man and I put it back because I thought it was ugly as hell.
Oh yeah, because you're right. It's not very amazing when it comes to art. Obviously, it's black and white, quick drawings. But I remember a lot of those story and record books. Those were my first experiences of hearing anything of He-Man. Before the cartoon came out, and you get to watch animation and hear it. You're sitting there, you're putting the record on or you're putting the tape in and you're listening just like James said and wait for the sound effect and you're flipping and they're talking all deep and mysterious and taking you into the land of Eternia. And, that when you're a kid, I'm drawn into it. So it's more like you could have said it could have been an audio play. Hell, I could have and I did that in fact times. Sometimes I didn't even have the books behind me. I just loved putting the record on or just listening. And they're telling you a story. It's almost like those serials they had for, like, the Little Orphan Annie stories or any of the action stuff when there was just radio back in the day. So I guess I got to enjoy that aspect. It's like, sure, does the art help sometimes, especially with some of the later record books where it had better art in there? Yes. But this one, while the art wasn't amazing, it was just a fun story to suck you in and just hearing about this mysterious place, the way they described the evergreen forest and how, the brush would go around Castle Grayskull until it lay dormant for years. It sucked you in. I completely understand what you're saying, though, in your point where, yeah, if you came out along later and just, if you've seen that, it's like, wow, that is some hot mess of an art. It does nothing for me. It does nothing for the brand. I can understand that from what you're saying, too. It's just a kid. I liked how the stories would suck me in. Before
I had books on tape, and I used to listen to books on records in daycare because that was a big part of our entertainment. And I was introduced to a lot of the Disney cartoons through books on tape. or the books that came with a little cassette tape, and I would play on a little tape player. So I was all about that. Had I been given that book at an early age, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit. But
Sure.
I still feel like because of the black and white art, I mean, I can appreciate it now, but I still don't think it's you know, I appreciate the ideas in the book, but it's not something I still to this day don't own that book. If I came across it at a flea market pretty cheap, yeah, I'd probably pick it up. But it's just something that, because of that impact, I've looked at it since, with scans on He-Man.org and stuff like that over the years. But it's still just not something I must have. I've kind of gotten past that phase of my life where I'm like, anything with the vintage logo on it, I mean, it's the reason I'll buy it, but I don't have to have everything. And that was such a lackluster story to me. It really was. I just because I traded someone for the Revenge of Skeletor book in 5th grade with the tape and everything, and went home and listened to it, the tape, and found the tape, less than desirable. I didn't listen to it. I spent more time looking at the pictures because this is 5th grade. Filmation, the live action movie, hell, even the Golden Books VHS tape was extremely impressionable to me.
Oh, sure. It makes these in comparison look very, very cheap and not as exciting. But I will say, if honestly you never did hear it, this one, at least out of the 3 kids stuff record books of, He-Man and Battle Cat and Skeletor's Revenge, and this one, Castle Grayskull, this one was my favorite because it really was given such a mystique and an awe, and what is this place, and how they described everything of Castle Grayskull and the Hall of Wisdom and the Council of Elders, and how the power, again, it kind of sucked you in, especially as a kid. But it was a great telling of that, because there was times that if I didn't have that book by me, and like I was saying, I'd like listening to it. I remember sometimes, just at nighttime, it's dark, you're in your bedroom, you put on the record or you put on the tape, and you just sit there and you're laying back in the dark and you're hearing the story. It really does. It draws you in. You feel like you're into it. The way they describe it, they're so descriptive. You feel like you're actually in Eternia, and you can envision every little detail he's describing. So this one, if it's available on YouTube, I mean, like I said, it's an adult set of eyes and ears and ways of looking at it now.
I appreciate that story, but as a kid, I was more about the action. Sit down and comfortably listen to a story that's just giving you a background on Castle Grayskull. Knowing me, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it that much, even if I had it as a kid, simply because if it's more about just telling the story of the creation of Grayskull and why it is the way that it is, I wouldn't have been that excited about it. I was about watching He-Man and Skeletor fight. I wanted to see, Triclops fight He-Man. I wanted to see the fights. I wanted to see the characters and engaging. It was just not, when I got to Revenge of Skeletor, I did find it kind of interesting that in that he's depicted as coming from Infinitum, which was the first time I found out about that. And I thought that was an interesting idea because in Filmation, it's not hinted at. I didn't know much about his ties to Hordak other than that they used to work together. That's all I knew. And then Hordak taught Skeletor what he knew. I hadn't seen the Golden Book, the Horde book. Hadn't come across that just yet at that time. Oh, wait. No, wait, I had. Take it back. But it was an interesting idea. And I like that idea, and I like the ideas in that book as well about the Hall of Wisdom, the Council. I like all that. I buy all that. And Infinita. In fact, I like the idea of Infinita a hell of a lot more than the whole Keldor thing. I just don't buy that.
I'm not much of the Keldor fan. No, I like the other dimension it comes from.
Even though Keldor's design looks great, it's menacing, it looks badass, but the idea of Skeletor coming from another dimension and
I like that.
Quickly to conquer Eternia just because he sees it as easy pickings
and somebody that's conquered many other worlds. Yeah, that's what makes him more mysterious and evil. I like it. Just a damn evil being. You know nothing about him, his background, but he comes from another place. He's conquered these worlds, and now he wants to conquer Eternia. That's frightening. I like that. It's like, damn, there's your backstory. You don't need anything else. He just explained he's a demon that's conquered worlds, and he's going to conquer this one. Enough said.
Yeah, he could still have him linked to Hordak, that he was successful in conquering those worlds because of what Hordak taught him, and which is why Hordak is the badass that he is, rolling Etheria. And I would wipe out the idea of Horde Prime because I feel like just like with Skeletor, he broke away from the guy that taught him and has become the solo badass that he is. I don't want Hordak answering anybody. I like just make those two the two, and then you throw in King Hiss, who was the previous ruler of Eternia at one point in pre-Eternia, or the previous massive threat, and not have those guys answering to anybody. Like I think there's a way to do a new He-Man story. You can include a lot of these older elements, especially Infinite, to scrap the. I know fans absolutely love the Keldor idea. I know people do. I get it. I just feel like it serves no purpose in the battle between He-Man and Skeletor to have him be He-Man's uncle. I said it before. It just doesn't have the same ring to it as being brothers or father and son. And I don't want to see He-Man and Skeletor as brothers. And I sure as hell don't want the idea of Skeletor being He-Man's father, some bullshit like that. Sorry, kids. But it's just it doesn't serve much of a purpose. It doesn't add to the story, and it just doesn't enhance the conflict of He-Man and Skeletor. You don't need Superman and Lex Luthor to be related. You don't need Peter Parker and Norman Osborn to be related. Oh, for some reason, it looked like you left the phone call for some reason.
I think it was Doug that popped out.
We've done that song and dance with Keldor before, but I getting back to what Joe's topic was, I appreciate those elements from that book. I just think as a kid, it would have probably bored me to death.
Yeah. Nope. Hey, like I said, I respect it. I can understand it. For me, it was different ways of experiencing before the cartoon, and I was used to sometimes just listening to records or certain things or stories where there weren't even pictures. But no, so it's a good one. If people haven't checked it out, like I said, at least if you listen to it, I'm sure you can find that on YouTube. They usually have
most of those record books are available on YouTube. Yeah,
right.
I'm pretty sure. I think that it is.
Yeah, most should be. So you might be able to find this, but at least it was the first time, I guess you could say, you've seen the Hall of Wisdom. I don't know if anything, but no, I think that that probably pretty much will wrap it up. Before I do that and pass it to you, if you have anything in closing to say, I just wanted to say hello to a new fan that reached out. It was a few weeks ago. His name is Chris Montague Owens, and I won't read his whole story because I know there's just certain things he wanted to mention, but he said that he's a veteran, and he said he started collecting Masters of the Universe in 2001 when the new cartoon came out and everything. And he said He-Man actually helped him battle through like the anthrax virus and its effects. And he says with our podcast, he said it's actually helps him misdirect his pain. And he said he's even noticed a lot of military veterans and retired police officers collect anything He-Man and action figures to deal with stuff that, happened to them and, the service and what they went through. And he just said, keep doing what you're doing. It means a lot for people like him. And I'll tell you what, Chris, I mean, it means a lot you reaching out. I mean, for you, it's a hell of a story, man. First, I just want to thank you for your service and, what you did. And it takes a lot of bravery, a lot of heart, and I mean, it meant a lot. When you have somebody reach out to you like that, it's just something it kind of blows you back for a second. I never would expected seeing any kind of message like that. And just you can reach people in different ways and give them some kind of hope, enjoyment, or wow, you don't realize the impact that maybe things you do and say can have with people. And we're glad to have you here as a new fan. And, thank you for that message. It really did mean a lot to me and Tyler.
Yeah, when Joe told me that, it was kind of left me speechless. Like, it was just like, oh my God, man. It was just, very heartwarming. And no, it just validates that Joe and I are on the right track of doing what we're doing. And, it's good to hear that people, from various outlets in this world, various parts of the world, various backgrounds, and just so many different people from all parts of the world. We hear more men than women. I haven't come across too many women that appreciate the podcast, which is perfectly fine. But I'm getting off track here. It was just incredible to hear that, and I can't thank you enough for reaching out to Joe and telling him that you really appreciate the podcast, that we're a source of entertainment to you. I mean, that's why we do this. We want to not just do a facts and trivia podcast. We want to keep people excited and have them seek out episodes and figures and ideas and stories, and keep your mental juices flowing to keep you excited that, when, you never lose that passion for He-Man, and to know that, we can be there for you, and give you something to enjoy, no matter what you're going through, whether you're going through a lot of physical pains, mental pains, or you're having a good day at work and we're just adding to that day, or we're a source of entertainment while you're driving or coming home from work, going to work. pass the time when you're cleaning your house or whatever the case may be. No matter what you're going through, it means a lot to know that we're helping people through things as an outlet of enjoyment and excitement. And thankfully Joe and I have not pissed off a lot of people. We have at one point. We've since apologized for that fiasco, but it's nice to know that for the most part we get positive feedback. We don't get people mad that I bash King Grayskull or that I defend the '87 movie with great passion. That I come down on people for being naive in their thoughts about it at times. We don't get a lot of God, you guys are a bunch of pompous douchebags and you guys think you know everything, this and that. And it doesn't happen too much, and we're thankful for that. Of course, people have every right to disagree with Joe and I, but it really means a lot, and I want to thank him personally too for reaching out to you and sharing his story and his background about that, and thank him for his service as well, and thank you for being a loyal listener. I mean, it's we don't ever want to take people for granted that people want to devote an hour to 2 hours of their time. Whether you listen to it all at once or you kind of break it up over the span of a week and listen to it, doesn't matter. The point is you're listening, whether it's through Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, whatever the outlet may be. And we really appreciate that. If you're listening to this, you like He-Man, you like She-Ra, or you're a hardcore fan and you love the commentaries, or you love the discussions, the arguments, and how I'd like to embarrass Joe for not knowing anything about He-Man other than what came from, Yugoslavia or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's always appreciated, and like I said, it means a lot. And as for tonight, I know I didn't get to a lot of people in the chat room, but that's we had our issues earlier, so I figured I would try to disable the chat at some point, just because I was thinking maybe it would take away some of the problems maybe I was having on my end. So anybody else that was commenting or anything, sorry if I didn't get to you. But next week we'll get you back. We'll have you covered with all your comments, and I'll make sure to acknowledge every single person in the chat room. Sorry about tonight, but like I said, there's technical issues. They kind of happen. But well, Tyler, did you have anything closing to say? Any recommendations before we wrap this one up?
Again, I want to thank our buddy Larry Ho for sending us those Lego figures. I want to thank Michael Patnawad. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Michael Patnawad. Yeah, he's a good guy. Real good guy.
Excuse me, Michael. He's been very, very supportive and gracious about the podcast, and as well as Beyond Retro as well. But him and his boys, they just recently got a copy of the Leech mini comic and were loving that, and just talking about how enthusiastic his boys are about He-Man and how supportive he is about He-Man.
I hope you mean your Leech mini comic. You're not talking about the original garbage one, correct?
No. And I'm officially out of that comic. I have no more. I had a gentleman contact me just recently too, saying he never received his copy and he bought it back in November. So I had to send out my personal copy of the mini comic to make sure. So if anybody's listening to this and you go back and you learn about the Leech mini comic that me and Carson did together, I have no more copies. I have no more to give out. I'm out.
So you're basically saying they're stuck with that horrible, horrible original Leech mini comic, the unbearable.
That, and I've contacted Carson. Carson's pretty much kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. I have not heard from him. I sent him a message recently. I have no idea.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay.
I hope he's okay.
Because
if people do pop up saying they purchased it and never received their copy, I'd like to think that everybody received their copy. But I just want to sit there and say, if anybody comes across and here's the back catalog of episodes and says you want a copy of it, I have no more. All I could do is ask Joe to scan, because Joe's got a copy of it. If he could just scan copy, pictures of the book and send it to me, I will gladly send it to you for free. Okay. If you want to know what the book looked like.
Yeah.
That's the best I could do. That way you don't have to pay for it. It's not an actual hard copy of it, but until I know that Carson is all right and everything, I don't know if we'll ever get any more copies of it. And the Clamshamp Ninja one that we were working on, I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day either. But if you're ever interested in knowing what the story was, contact me and I'll let you know what we had planned, because they had it completed. had some of the first the cover and the first pages. You know, kind of had an idea what that was going to look like. It was a pretty kick-ass story. But I want to thank Michael and his boys because they've been so supportive of He-Man and the podcast, and they love the comic and everything. And they were just super excited to be, you know, discovering all of our content. So I want to give a shout out to him and his boys.
Definitely.
And again, if anybody purchased that mini comic, let me know if you liked it or not, because I know a lot of people who bought it, but I'd like to know if people enjoyed it if they bought it. You know, it's nice to know that my one shot at contributing to the He-Man mythology, you know, unofficially, I'd like to know if people liked what I did for it. You know, I'd like to think that, you know, I didn't diminish Leech or anything like that. So it was just curious to know.
I don't think that's possible after what we've seen back.
I don't think so either. Not to say that sit there and say that what I did was any better, but also oh, damn it, I just had somebody send me a message too, and I was going to give them a thank you too. Damn it, I'm trying to remember how to bring up other messages. Anyway, I'll have to thank him privately, I guess. Someone had sent me recommendation for a castle for the Lego He-Man figures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to thank him when I get him get his name on that. So if he's listening, I hang on a second. I'm going to get this because the guy contacted or said something while we were recording. Let me get this.
You can do that.
I'm going to thank this guy.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. You take your time. And if I was able to read the comments in the chat room, I'd be acknowledging. But again, I was trying to cut down from anything.
Kyle Kendall, that's his name. Kyle Kendall sent me that, and I will. I want to thank you, Kyle, for sending that recommendation. I'll have to look out for that Lego set for the Lego figures there. But that's about all I got. I like to send out recommendations for Axel Jimenez and Kevin Sharp. You know, because I love promoting the hell out of their artwork. Check out heman.org. PowerCon tickets. If you're still interested in going to that, those tickets are still available. Go and support that. I wish I could, but unfortunately, jobs interfere with that. But other than that, I don't think I got anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm good, man.
All right, you're good. All right. Well, I'm just keeping mine short and sweet, but everybody in the chat room that was there, we appreciate you, and I'm glad you hung in and stayed with us. There are little problems and glitches, but like I said, should be all straightened out next week, I'm sure. Like I said, things happen. But again, hope you enjoyed this episode. So until next time, have a powerful day.
You have any idea how this Valak knows my name? You're not going to know this one because I know for a fact you don't know this one.
God, yeah, I was going to say I'm clueless. So I don't even know if I'll get. Well, I can't know if the chat room answers this. You're going to tell me, what is that from?
It's from James Wood says it in John Carpenter's Vampires.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I have never seen that movie. Yeah, so you're right.
We like to embarrass Joe publicly. He's never seen Vampires, so.
Whoops. But
I even sent the trailer on Facebook, and he has yet to acknowledge that he's even watched the trailer, let alone acknowledge that I even sent him the trailer. So clearly shows Joe just does not give a damn about watching John Carpenter's Vampires.
Thanks for the trailer, Tyler.
You'd be too busy watching, that Rex movie that Clive Barker did. Rawhide Rex.
Rawhead Rex? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say Rawhide? It's Rawhead. Rawhead Rex. I love
Whatever
Rawhead.
That's what
he's like, whatever that cheesy movie was, but okay, guys, see you next week.
All right, later.